Hi guys, so this is Faraz. So I'm going to start a JMeter first, then we will make our first test in JMeter. So I will write here JMeter and there is jmeter.bat. It can be found in the JMeter install folder. So you don't need to install JMeter. You just need to copy JMeter from the JMeter website as mentioned in the article, and once you download the files you just need to open the bin folder, and within bin folder you can see the jmeter.bat file available. So just double clicking that, or I'm just opening it from the shortcut. So this is jmeter. So this is how it's looked like, and if we see here, we can see here the file section, edit, search, run, options, tools, help, and by default there is a test plan. So we can use that as well. It's empty. We can define the name of the test plan and any comments we need to write. So let's see if we say test plan for Google test one. So I'm just saying it. Just for the test one we are creating this test plan. Everything comes under test plan. So what are the steps to create first JMeter test? So in our article, if we see here, we have mentioned creating a first test in JMeter. We need to start JMeter, create a test plan which is already created. If not, you can easily create test plan. So here guys, if I go to file, if I create new, I can create a new test plan, but it is already there. So if I change it, let's say if I change something and I click somewhere else, it is saving the name. But then if I click here, new or file new, it will show me the pop-up that do you want to save the existing test plan. If I say no, it will create the new test plan for me. So it's fresh. So again, I can save it test plan, Google test one, and I go to save. I save it. I have already saved it before, but now I'm saving it, and it's already empty. So the selected file already exists. Do you want to overwrite? Yes. Now it overridden the existing test plan, but it is currently empty. So everything reside under test plan. So we need to add parameters and we need to add elements within the test plan. So what are those elements? If we go to add, we can see threads. So we talked about thread groups in our article. We can add thread groups, we can add listeners, we can add timers, assertions, non-test elements, fragments, config elements. So there are a lot of stuff to cover, but we will keep our first test as simple as possible, and we will try to create and execute our first test in this video. So let's get started. Now we will add a thread group to our test plan. So if I right click my test plan, I can go to add threads and I can add a simple thread group for now. And it is most simple with some parameters available. So thread group, Google test one, and then as you can see there we have option action to be taken after a sampler error. So for example, once we will add a sampler, we will see after that we will add a sampler. So let's say we have HTTP sampler because our site is hosted on HTTP or HTTPS, so we need to use HTTP sampler for that. And before going forward, let me tell you about a thread group. So thread group, you consider it a collection of threads. Each thread represent one user using the application under test, right? So basically each thread simulate one real user request to the server. So So it is asking me what action need to be taken after there is a sampler error. I say continue, and then in thread properties, number of users, it is asking me I want to simulate 10 users, and then ramp up period is a period where these 10 users would be available to send a request to the server. So for example, if I write 20, it means that within 20 seconds, 10 users will be available to request to the server, and they will send a request to the server within 20 seconds. So it means each new user will send a request to the server after every 2 seconds, right? So if we divide 20 by 10 users, so after every 2 seconds, the new user will send a request to the server. Then we have a loop count. We don't need a loop. We don't need infinite loop. Otherwise, it will keep on working after every 20 seconds. It will start all over again. And then, it will keep on going and we need to manually stop it. So I don't need that. So we will keep it one, same user. We will keep the same settings. And now what we will do is we will add a sampler. So if we add sampler HTTP request here, so here as you can see in HTTP request, we have some fields, some parameters, and for example, I write here HTTP request test1, and within that, now in protocol HTTPS or HTTP, we need to write whether we are going with HTTP or HTTPS. So it depends upon how our project is running on the cloud. So let's say I'm writing here HTTPS, and then for example, so if I have a new window, and within that new window, if I go to mm, google.com, and if I go to I'm feeling lucky page. So here, as you can see, that my main domain is google.com. So if I copy it and write it here, I don't need to write HTTPS because I have already provided HTTPS. So I will just write google.com here, and my path, this page, I need to write here, and my HTTP request will be get, because I am not testing an API whether I put post or put. I just need to set it to get because I am testing my web application. So I don't need to change anything. There are many advanced fields as well where I can put timeouts to connect and response, what type of implementation I need to hit. But currently I will leave it as it is. And now my HTTP request sampler is ready. But now I need a listener. What is a listener? Basically, first we talk about what is HTTP request. HTTP request is a type of sampler, and we already know that thread group simulate user request to the server. But how the thread group know how this thread group know that which type of request it need to make? So now it knows that it need to make HTTP type of request, and because the answer is sampler. But now we are moving towards listener shows the result of the test execution. They can show result in a different format, such as trees, graphs. So if I go to thread, if I go to add, here we added sampler, right? So we need to add listener. So if we go to listener section, we will see result tree, summary report, aggregate report. There are a lot of type of reports we have to see the results. I will add view result tree, and then let's add view results in. in table. So I will add these two for now. Now, once we have added our result tree and result table to the test plan, we can now execute. Now, the final step is to run this test. So once we click on the start button, it will start executing our test. So if we see our result tree, you can see the requests are being logged and recorded, and listener is listening to the results. So if you can see here, if you can see the view result in table, so you can see all the 10 samplers are there and test is stopped. As you can see here on the top, it executed in within 20 seconds. It's executed all 10 users. All 10 user requests are here. As you can see the start time of each thread as well, all with the difference of 2 seconds. So as you can see, and sample time, how much time it has been taken, bytes and bytes, latency, connection time, etc. So if I see here thread name, so this thread executed for user 1, the same thread executed for user 2, etc. So this is the overall flow of our test.